All right, we're going to continue with our media availabilities this morning. We've now been joined by Kyle Busch, driver of the number 18 M&M's Halloween Toyota. We'll take questions for Kyle. If you have one, please raise your hand, say your name and affiliation, and we'll get a wireless mic to you. Who'd like to kick us off? Okay, we'll go to the back.
Jonathan Merriman, NASCAR.com. Kyle, going back to fall of 2015, you've had top 5 finishes at this racetrack. What clicked for you in the fall of 15 here?
I'm not sure exactly what kind of started clicking for us. I had a few top 5s, I think, before that as well, too, with Dave Rogers. I think that's kind of when it was really starting to finally kind of set in. Maybe 2012, 13-ish. We always had decent runs going here, but we just never materialized throughout the entire day, and we're able to make the right adjustments through the entire day to be there at the end. This track changes quite a bit throughout the entirety of the event and through 500 laps. So, I think just being able to give better feedback, I think having, Adam not scared to make adjustments as he knows what's going to happen and what he feels right in his gut that allows us to be up front most of the day.
And a follow-up to that, it looks like, the next 4 races on the schedule, you guys really don't have a weakness per se. How do you go into race weekends and not become complacent knowing that you have a good history at the next 4?
I think because the sport changes so much, what we're doing today isn't necessarily the same as what we were doing here 6 months ago or 7 months ago, whatever it was we were here. So, you obviously know that the sport changes. We've seen how well the Stewart-Haas guys have gotten and how fast all of them are now versus what the 4-car had just shown the speed for the last 3 years, So it's just always about trying to continue to improve and continue to get better. We know we go into some of these racetracks maybe a little bit behind, but I feel like with Adam and myself, with the way that we're able to work together and the things we're able to do together, that we can have solid runs, solid finishes, and even try to chase for wins.
All right, Bob.
Bob Hockers, ESPN. You mentioned the Stewart-Haas guys. They have all 4 cars in the round of 8. Gibbs had that 2 years ago in 2016. Is it any different when you have 4 with 3 teammates in there versus just being the only guy?
I think there is. I think it puts more strain on the shop, obviously, to have to produce more cars, more caliber cars, I guess, to go to the racetrack each and every week. Everybody puts everything into all their stuff all the time, but there's that added motivation when you are in the round of 8. So I just think that that compounds itself when you've got to go with 4 versus just 1. I think also, too, when you have 4 guys in there, you've got 4 that are striving to have really, really good, solid days, and the teammate game isn't necessarily teammates. It's all about yourself all the time. And when you have all 4 in versus just myself being eligible now, I feel like, there's opportunity for me to get some slack cut my way by my teammates, but I wouldn't necessarily ask them to or expect them to. They obviously got to race for what they feel is right for them as well.
All right, Jerry.
Jerry Jordan, Kicking the Tires.net. I've got 2. Going into Texas next weekend, your thoughts on that track? Obviously, we know about the repave, but does it pose any tougher problems for you or your team?
I wouldn't say it poses any tougher problems. That place has always been fast, and it's always kind of been one groovish around the bottom, and so far it's kind of what we got with the repave. Obviously you hope that with time and age and the asphalt surface that it becomes better, more racy. I'm not sure we're really there yet, especially the time of year we go there now, being in November, and as chilly as it is, it's pretty cool. So there's going to be more urgence to run the bottom all the time. So that's tough. That's always tough for raceability of the racetrack. But it was a good place for us before the repave, and now since the repave, I think it's been a pretty good place for us as well too. We've run well there. We won there this spring, so hopefully we can continue that sort of momentum there.
And second question, obviously the debut was announced for the Racing Wives show this past week. You're on the show from time to time. Your wife is a key figure with the other NASCAR wives. What are your thoughts on it? Was it fun, and what do you think the fans can expect from it?
Yeah, I think it's just a unique opportunity and a sneak peek into the lives of us, mostly the wives, obviously, outside of racing and what we do here at the racetrack each and every weekend. People get 30-second snidbits sometimes of drivers on camera, and make their impersonation off of what they see there and their opinions off of that, and they don't necessarily know what we're like away from the track. So, I think it's more exciting for the girls. Samantha's obviously huge into the IVF and being an advocate for that, and what we've all had our challenges of conceiving our son, and now with going through the second round for a girl, hopefully. She's also got some other aspirations that she's got with her store and some other things that'll come out in the show that she's trying to do. So it's about awareness to those things and trying to help build her brand and the awareness. And look, if we're able to get 3 new viewers from that show that tune in on Sunday, then it's a positive, right? It's a win. So that's kind of how we look at it.
All right, Jacob in the back.
Jacob Seelman, Speed Sport. Your driver, Noah Gregson, was in here yesterday and said that this track is so vastly different from race to race here that every time you come back it feels like you're having to start over. Do you feel that? And if so, why do you feel like you have to keep changing on everything, and this track is one of those that just you can't necessarily always bring the same setup to?
Yeah, I mean, I agree to a sense of what he's saying. I just think it's like the feel that you get every time you come here is vastly different. You can come here with the same setup, but you're always tuning on it, tweaking on it. You can end one way in a race and come here and unload the exact same way, and end in another way, and then come back here and unload the exact same way you finish that one, and make changes. You're just always constantly evolving, and I think that's just the sport, not necessarily maybe the racetrack, but the overall change in what happens each time you come here. And so, it's hard to remember. You don't race here for 7 months. It's hard to remember exactly what all you're doing and to fine tune and get those moments exactly right. So I think that's just kind of the feel. And look, here at Martinsville, I mean, you're literally trying to hit the same line all the time, and you might vary 6 or 8 inches, and 6 or 8 inches here is a big deal. And a big deal for lap time. I mean, you can go from running a 20 flat to a 20-25 just by missing the bottom of one corner, So it's obviously a very challenging place, and being so precise here is equates to speed.
All right, we're going to go Chris, Jim, and then wrap it with Kelly. Go ahead, Chris.
Chris Knight, GetTrends.com. Kyle, can your teammates be instrumental in helping with setup and et cetera from now until Homestead?
You're asking me a cup question, right?
Yeah.
Okay. It's weird from you. So, yeah, my teammates, yes, they can certainly help. We lean off of the 78 a bit. We lean off the 11, the 20. We've actually leaned off the 20 a lot the last few races. So, I feel like that, yes, there's an opportunity there for all of us to help one another, mostly for those guys to help us. They can certainly venture off in different paths, and Adam can certainly give them some things that he'd like to see them try while we're working on other things, and we can kind of regroup after practice with those notes and that feedback. So I think that that can be instrumental to us having, again, back to Bob's point, having one car in versus all 4 car in.
Jim.
Jim Utter, Motorsport.com. 6 races isn't the biggest sample size, but are you surprised at all that you're the only driver of the so-called Big 3 that's won a playoff race so far? And does that really say anything about the 3 of you guys?
When you look at the grand scheme of things, people look at the list of winners through the year. It shows there hasn't been a Big 3 winner. But when you look at the inner depth of how the top 3 have run, I think there's a different story. Harvick was obviously the dominant car, if not the best car at Dover and possibly Kansas, and just had certain circumstances just not go their way to allow them to be able to finish the day how they had been running. So, you look at the 4 car, and he could very well easily had 2 or 3 wins already. And so that's, really, really good for those guys, where Richmond was kind of our best chance for a win, and our best finish at Dover was probably going to be a 3rd. Kansas was probably going to be a 3rd, given Harvick put back to the leader. So it's all relative, I guess, in how you read what the finishing standings were.
All right, Kelly.
Kelly Crandall Racer.com. Kyle, with the playoff points that you have now that everything's reset, and with success that you've had at each of these 3 tracks, is this round just, hey, let's just not do anything stupid because we can advance on points if we're smart, or are you guys still going to push as hard as you can, all about points, all about wins?
Yeah, I'm not so sure that that you can just advance on points, even in our situation where we're at. You know, with the way that all 8 of these guys have been running lately, there's an opportunity for, let's say, the bottom 3 guys, whoever they are, if they win and Harvick has a better 3 races than we do, he's in on points versus us. You know, so I'm not so sure that that situation can happen. I'm not so sure that that situation will happen. I hope it won't, but you know, I'd like to think that you still have to go out there and you still have to kind of push the issue to win a race. That obviously just cements yourself and gives you you know, you win Martinsville, you get a couple weeks off almost, and being able to focus and think on exactly what you got to do for Homestead the final week. But even if you don't win those, you know, I think it was 15, we were the last guy through on points to get to the championship round, and we ended up winning it in 15. So you know, however you get there, it's just a matter of getting there and making sure that you're eligible.
All right, one more question. Go ahead.
Ellen Haro, USA Today. Kyle, more than anyone, you know what it takes to get to the Final Four, having done it each of the past few years. Does that give you extra confidence or make it any easier, or is every year a new year?
I believe every year is a new year, but you certainly can't forget what you've done and what's gotten you to that point of being in the championship 4. So I do feel like that the experience that we've had and the times that we've been there, we can lean on some of that and remember some of those bullet points that have given us that success to be able to get to the Final Four and rely on that information over again. Some of these guys that haven't made it there, they've made it to the round of 8 but haven't been able to transfer through. They've certainly learned some of the things of what not to do. You know, but I feel like we've just got to continue of doing the things that we know what to do, and hopefully that all comes to fruition. I mean, you can be racing a guy trying to get to the bottom here at Martinsville and cut somebody off, or have somebody get into you on the exit of the corner, cut your left rear tire, spin you out, and your day's done, you know, and you can pretty much be now on the outside looking in for the next 2 races. So anything can happen. You just got to be smart and figure it all out and kind of play it out, let it come to you as it will.
All right, Kyle, thanks for joining us today. We wish you the best of luck this weekend.